Hi again, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be drawing Iriamu from Dragon Ball 13, my kind of fan manga. Um, yeah, so he's kind of a big dude, so here I am kind of just doing a layout for just the general scope of things. Getting into the line art here, I like to use the textured pen on Clip Studio. It kind of has that varied thickness, which I really like to emulate kind of like a Shintani vibe Dragon Ball look. Um, this is something I just started doing since the Broly movie came out. Prior to that, I used more of I think it's the turnip pen, but I just really like this feel now that it's acceptable for this art style. So, getting into the hair and the neck, I like to draw on a different layer for the hair. Reason is I can just go back, as I'm about to do, and just kind of erase the face, the hairline, and all that stuff that I don't need that's covered up by the bangs, so I don't have to plan too far ahead. So in this picture, he's going to be wearing his ancient armor. If you've seen my concept sheets on my Instagram page, which I will put my name, boop, right there. If you've seen my concept sheets on my Instagram page, then you have seen this outfit before, but I haven't actually drawn it outside of that picture very much. Just a few sketches in my own little sketchbook, but it hasn't actually been featured in any other picture yet. So I'm just kind of getting practiced up on it, getting more into the feel of it, since I'm going to be drawing this outfit a lot in this chapter. Well, this chapter and the next chapter going forward a little bit. Yeah, so I messed up on this hand quite bad. As you can see, like, I don't know what kind of weird claw formation he was doing, but I corrected it. I kind of got mixed up. I ended up having to look at my own hand to correct myself. I was just like, that's not what a hand does. And I looked at my hand, I was like, okay, this is what a hand does. And I also did this arm really long. I didn't have to look at my arm to correct myself on that one. I just happened to notice when I zoomed out, and I was like, wow, that is totally misshapen. So fixed that up, corrected the proportions on that. Getting into the rest of the hair here, and the line art is done. So I'm about to do a flat color over the entire picture, just over the entire body here. Some of the lines weren't all the way filled out here, but I do that just to kind of see what I'm going to be coloring, and then I can start selecting the individual areas I'm going to color out. So here I'm starting with the hair. When I color, I like to outline the area that I'm coloring, and then I'll just after I've outlined the entire area that's going to be this color, I'll just kind of use the fill bucket tool to fill it in. So here you'll see, and that's done, and then boom! All red. Yeah, he's a very red character. Forgot the scar there. He's a very red character, so a lot of this color is going to be very red. Even when I do the grays and the blacks a little later, I still use kind of like a red hue to those colors, or tones, I guess I should say. Just to kind of keep with the thematic of boom, red, you know what I mean? Yeah, so these grays have a little bit of a red to them, and the blacks, I use a dark gray with a bit of a red tone to them, to keep that theme. And then I think the only thing that doesn't have like a specific red tone is the belt, which is white, and the crest there is brown, but brown is kind of on the red tone side anyway, so it's all good. Yeah, not a lot to say at this point, I guess. I'm kind of used to coloring this guy. I've drawn him a few times, so I'm kind of just used to the tones. Oh yes, the shading for the scar. So what I do is I actually use the same skin tone. I just create a second layer over top of it, and then I use that same skin tone set to a linear burn layer, and then that keeps the scar tissue similar enough that it seems convincing that it's a real scar for his body. And then here I'm just using I use this technique in my last video as well. I use like a colored pencil and then blurred it out to kind of make that red tone. It keeps everything consistent for my shading here. It allows it to kind of be like a gradient tone shift for the entire picture. So again, here I'm just using a light gray tone set to linear burn for the shading. I just like to do that because it keeps consistent, and it saves me from having to figure out, okay, what's a realistic shade for this. It just kind of keeps it, boom, consistent, easy peasy. So yeah, I'm gonna do this layer of shading, and then I'm actually gonna add a second layer of shading over top of this, which is going to be the same gray tone on a different layer above this gray tone, again set to linear burn. It'll give that second layer of darkness and that second layer of shading to it. And then later I'll even get in some highlights, which I'll talk about when we get there. But here I've just highlighted I've just selected the entire shading layer. So now I can just use that second layer of shading and then just go over the previous layer of shading. I don't want to have any mixing up or anything like that, so this allows me just to be sure that I'm only going to be going into the areas that I want to. Yeah, so you can see I'm adding this second tone here. It kind of gives it more of that intense vibe. I didn't do that in my last video because I was meant to be a kind of calm, chill picture, but here I'm going for more of an intense look, so I've gone the second layer of shading here. And then I was originally going to do like an aura, but I changed my mind and ended up going with like kind of a flamey, destroyed background vibe look. Nothing too, complicated or anything, just kind of there's flames in the background. So I use like a cross-hatchy kind of sponge brush and then blend it out on an add layer blend, if that makes sense. It gives it that nice glow. Here I am adding some particle effects over top of him to kind of have like a emulated ember kind of feel. Lots of blurring and blending and all that stuff going on there. So here I'm getting into my highlights. Because he is surrounded by flames, to keep it consistent with that, I used a yellow tone for the highlights. I'll do that on another layer over top, and then use a yellow tone on like an add or a glow kind of layer blend. And then I'll just kind of pick out the places that I want to highlight. So I obviously want to highlight the area where the light is coming from, but you might see I'm also highlighting into the shading. That's just to give a little more depth, and also to show that the light is from behind him. If you ever hold an object up to a light, you'll see that it glows on both sides, and like there'll be more on one side because it's closer to light, and then on the other side a little bit too. It's just kind of doing that kind of a look. Get those little eye glows in there. So yeah, this is almost done. Yeah, here's the finished product here, Mr. Iriamu himself. Yeah, pretty happy with the turnout on this one. Probably a couple things I could have touched up a little bit more, but not bad. If you're excited to see Iriamu, let me know. He'll be in the next chapter of Dragon Ball 13. You can check that out on my Instagram page. And yeah, hope you dig it. Bye!